Alaska, the world's last frontier, where light and darkness intertwine on the northern horizon, where immense mountain ranges and flat craters rise like guardian gods of the untamed wilderness. Glaciers slowly advance through the valleys, grinding rock and time, leaving behind deep blue lakes. In summer, the sun never sets. Light stretches endlessly, awakening a world asleep beneath the snow. Frozen tundras bloom with wildflowers, inviting herds of caribou to return after thousands of kilometers. In the forest, a brown bear stands in the middle of a waterfall, its gaze fixed on leaping salmon among the rocks. High above, a bald eagle spreads its wings, ready to dive like an arrow, cutting the wind. Farther, where the Bering Sea embraces Alaska's coast, massive walruses gather on the sand. Sea otters twirl among silver waves, and millions of seabirds turn the sky into a shower of feathers. Alaska, where every breath of wind, every wave, every wild animal's track is an endless chapter of the earth. Today, join us on a journey to discover these untamed lands. Alaska, the last frontier of the wild world. Alaska, the Arctic jewel of the United States, stretches across more than 1.7 million square kilometers. It is the largest state, yet also the least populated. This land lies at the northwestern edge of the continent, bordering Canada to the east, the Arctic Ocean to the north, and the vast Pacific to the south. Renowned for its diverse geography, Alaska boasts majestic mountain ranges, like the Alaska Range with Denali, the highest peak in North America. Giant glaciers such as Matanuska and Columbia stretch for tens of kilometers, alongside thousands of pristine lakes shimmering under the summer sun. Alaska's climate is extremely harsh. Winters are long, with dark nights. In the Arctic, where temperatures can drop below -40 degrees. Yet in return, summer, though brief, shines with nearly constant sunlight for 24 hours, known as the midnight sun, turning Alaska into a paradise of wildflowers and wildlife. Here lives the massive brown bear, herds of caribou migrating thousands of kilometers, red salmon swimming upstream to spawn, and bald eagles soaring across the sky. It is not only nature. Alaska is also home to ancient cultures, with native peoples such as the Inupiat, Yupik, Alutiiq, and Athabascan, who have lived here for thousands of years, preserving traditions of hunting, fishing, and the art of carving bone, walrus ivory, and driftwood with precision. Alaska's history is also tied to the Klondike Gold Rush. At the end of the 19th century, when thousands arrived hoping to change their lives. Today, Alaska preserves its wild and mysterious nature. It is a dream destination for those who love nature and the passion for exploration. From the auroras, dancing in vibrant green and purple across the night sky, to the cracking of ice, breaking in summer, Alaska makes anyone who steps on its soil feel a beauty both fierce and delicate, a gift that nature offers to hearts brave enough to reach the end of the world. When Alaska's harsh winter begins to fade, the ever-present gray sky starts to show its first green hues. the scarce sun of recent months, filters through frost-covered conifers, casting veins of warm golden light. Across the ground, snow remains thick and cold, but it is beginning to soften. Each step sinks into a thin, melting blanket of white. The spring wind carries the scent of new earth, mingled with the fragrance of freshly sprouted grass, creating a distinctive aroma that appears only at the turning of the seasons. From afar, the murmur of thawing streams echoes through the valley, mingled with the song of the first returning migratory birds after the long silent winter. As they grow accustomed to the light and scent of spring, Alaska's bears begin to emerge from their dens, leaving behind the cold refuge of the long winter. They walk slowly over the soft snow, their massive paws leaving deep tracks, marking the return of the sovereign of the wild forest. Their bodies are still heavy and weak, but the instinct for survival drives them to seek their first food. After months of fasting, experienced bears follow the banks of thawing streams, where they can find fish carcasses or remains of animals frozen from the previous season. They also dig the earth, unearthing roots, wild tubers, and fresh new grass. As spring advances, salmon begin to run the rivers, and that will be the great feast for the bears. But in the first days after leaving the den, everything is precious. From a patch of damp earth to a tuft of green grass, even the scent of blood carried on the wind, signaling a predator nearby. Some mother bears bring cubs born during the winter, and they move cautiously, ears and snout constantly scanning for danger. The stumbling cubs follow, their tiny paws, sometimes pausing to play with a branch or to offer a freshly opened wildflower. The mother usually leads them to safe places near food sources, both to recover and to teach them how to forage and recognize threats. On frost-covered dry branches, northern cardinals display their intense red like small flames against the silvery gray sky. The male's brilliant red plumage stands out blindingly, in stark contrast to the lingering winter cold. They sit motionless, black eyes gleaming, as if listening to the breathing of earth and sky. Their clear, prolonged song resounds through the silent expanse, announcing that spring is about to arrive. A gentle breeze carries the scent of new grass, the sky opening in patches of green, and there the cardinal still waits, patiently for the first warmth that will make the entire meadow burst into new life. February in Alaska, spring is still a distant promise. Weak rays of sun have only just appeared, too feeble to melt the thick blanket of snow covering the silent conifer forests. The north wind still carries a biting cold that slips between the straight trunks, leaving soft sounds like whispers of a winter that refuses to leave. In this cold landscape, gray wolves move silently, agile yet steady, leaving long tracks in the untouched snow. They travel in single file, evenly spaced, moving as one breathing organism. Their noses lower, quivering softly to catch every trace of scent that promises prey remains left from the intense cold months. It might be a snowshoe hare hidden beneath dry grass, a young caribou lost from the herd, or simply an animal carcass buried under the ice from the previous season. Every breath they exhale turns into a faint white cloud that disperses in the pure morning air. Though February has arrived, Alaska's forests remain cloaked in a silent white mantle. Yet the wolf does not hurry. They know life here demands patience. Their steps are as soft as falling snow, their gaze cold yet serene, accustomed to the harsh rhythm of climate and land. They do not walk merely to hunt, but also as if listening to the heartbeat of spring, quietly awakening beneath the ice, a new beginning, still hidden, waiting for its moment. In the mid-20th century, to diversify hunting resources and increase ungulate populations, humans introduced Roosevelt elk. From northwestern states such as Washington and Oregon to Alaska, special trains transported them across the sea to forested islands and meadows, such as Afognak and Raspberry. At first, the immigrant herds struggled with harsh winters and unfamiliar predators, but over time they adapted, moving in large groups, using river meadows in summer, and seeking deep shelter in conifer forests when snow blankets everything. The elk, also known as Roosevelt elk, is one of the largest deer on the planet, second only to the moose. Adult males can weigh between 320 and over 500 kilograms, distinguished by their enormous branching antlers, like crowns. The antler bones measure over 1 meter and weigh tens of kilograms. Each year at winter's end, they shed their antlers, and in spring, a larger, more majestic set grows. Their coat is a warm golden brown with darker neck and mane, helping them stay warm and giving them an imposing, majestic appearance. They live in large herds, sometimes numbering hundreds, constantly moving between meadows, conifer forests, and low mountain areas, seeking fresh grass, leaves, and bark. During harsh winters, elk can run up to 70 kilometers per hour and are excellent swimmers, helping them escape predators, such as gray wolves or brown bears. In autumn, when forests turn deep gold, the male's mournful bugle serves both as a challenge to rivals and a call to attract mates, becoming an emblematic sound of the North American wilderness. Today, elk thrive in many regions, from the wide western prairies and rocky mountain valleys to the coastal islands of Alaska, where humans introduced them. And they have successfully adapted with strength, speed, and wild instinct. The elk is not only a proud symbol of the West, but also a vital link, maintaining the balance of its ecosystem. The Arctic tundra of Alaska stretches like a green-gray belt across the far north of the state, embracing the long coast of the Arctic Ocean. From the Arctic coastal plain south to the Brooks Range, the natural wall of mountains separating tundra from the interior taiga forest, and westward to the Seward Peninsula, embracing bays and river mouths along the Bering Sea. This is a vast land, spanning hundreds of thousands of square kilometers, where the ground remains frozen year-round, beneath a layer of permanent ice. Only the thin top layer thaws during the short summer, revealing marshes, glacial lakes, and a network of rivers and streams winding through low meadows. The tundra has no tall forests, only low vegetation, mosses, lichens, grasses, and small shrubs rooted in the frozen soil to withstand cold winds and frost. From above, The tundra looks like an immense carpet, speckled with green, brown, and white, stretching to where sky meets horizon. This is the natural boundary between man and the land of eternal ice, where life must adapt with tenacity to survive. In the vast tundras of Alaska, where the north wind blows relentlessly, across moss and low shrubs, willow ptarmigan live in silence, yet with great strength. In winter, they wear pure white plumage, almost vanishing into the vast snowy landscape, revealing only their black eyes and delicate beaks. When summer arrives, their plumage turns dark reddish-brown, blending with the earth and tundra grasses, helping them evade the sharp eyes of predators. Willow ptarmigan forage on the ground, pecking at willow buds, leaves, and seeds. To survive the cold, they move in small flocks, sometimes flying only a few meters before settling nearby, leaving wing prints in the snow. Their calls are soft clucks, echoing in the wind, like the breathing of the frozen earth. Nothing but perseverance. The willow ptarmigan is the emblem of silent life in Alaska, where every creature learns to endure the relentless cycle of nature. Beyond the northern tundra, in the vast tundra of Alaska, where the north wind never ceases and snow covers the ground for months, the caribou, a quiet shadow of prehistoric times, moves with long, heavy fur, nearly brushing the snow, swaying rhythmically with every cold gust. A fine layer of hollow hair beneath the outer coat traps body heat. Even when temperatures plunge below -40 degrees, the secret of survival that allows them to endure the planet's harshest winters. When the winter sky turns silver and gray and the sun barely grazes the horizon for a few hours, caribou move slowly across the frozen plain with measured, confident steps. They use their wide, strong hooves to scrape away snow, searching for tender shoots, green moss, or willow roots hidden beneath the ice. The sound of scraping snow blends with the wind, creating the familiar rhythm of life here. They live in herds of tens to several dozen, united and protecting one another like a great family. When the shadow of a gray wolf appears, or the scent of a predator is carried on the wind, the adults instantly form a solid circle, curved antlers pointing outward, shielding the calves in the center. This defensive tactic has allowed the species to survive for tens of thousands of years, from the Ice Age to the present. Under the faint winter light, their breath rises in white clouds, mingling with the cold mist, giving the impression they are an extension of this ancient land. Muskoxen in the Alaskan tundra are not only proof of nature's strength and endurance, but also remind us that in the most inhospitable places, life continues to take root in silence, steadfast through every glacial cycle. April in Alaska, the sky has turned a clearer blue. And in the lower tundra, the ground begins to awaken from its frozen sleep. The last blocks of ice melt into small streams, winding down the slopes, drawing new rivulets among the moss. From the damp, dark earth, tender grass and low shrubs reach for the light, adorning the gray-white canvas of winter past with fresh green tones. Migratory birds have returned the calls of geese and gray cranes resounding across the open expanse, breaking the silence of the long cold months. Caribou travel in vast herds across the valleys, pausing to graze on new grass. The entire lower tundra seems clothed in a new, soft living mantle after months of ice. Muskoxen walk calmly through the fresh spring breeze of Alaska, their thick dark brown fur swaying gently with each step, their curved horns gleaming under the new sun. They lower their heads peacefully to graze each tender shoot, unhurried as if savoring the rare gift spring brings to this frozen land. In the distance, mountains, still capped in white snow, form the backdrop for this resilient species that has survived the long winter. When snow begins to melt in Alaska's marshes and coasts, from far south, flocks of snow geese return in formation, appearing from afar like moving clouds across the northern spring sky. Their broad wings beat the wind, white feathers gleaming with black tips. Their characteristic calls resound in waves, echoing across valleys and the vast tundra. This migration is a journey of thousands of kilometers across seas, plains, and mountains to return to their birthplace. Upon landing, snow geese quickly scatter to seek tender grass, lagoons, or wet areas near streams, both to recover from the long flight and to prepare their nests. Snow geese are renowned for their rare fidelity. In the wild, once paired, they stay together nearly for life, facing together migrations of thousands of kilometers and sharing all duties of raising their young. Each breeding season, the pair returns to the same ground, building the nest together, taking turns incubating eggs, and protecting the goslings from predators. This perseverance and devotion make the snow goose a symbol of lifelong companionship in Alaska's wild nature. Not only snow geese, but also flocks of sandhill cranes migrate to Alaska each spring, helping create a vibrant tableau of this northern land reborn. Upon landing on the damp soils, beside marshes and reeds, just awakened from the ice, they immediately call to one another and perform elegant courtship dances, each leap and wing flap, as if writing the opening song of the breeding season. Not far away, snow geese gather in huge flocks, grazing tender grass and preparing to incubate. Amid the lively calls of geese and the long trumpet-like cries of cranes, the entire tundra takes on a new rhythm of life, full of energy. In early summer, caribou herds begin their journey toward the high coastal tundra mountains, where cold winds blow without cease under the northern sun that shines almost all day. They move in vast herds, step by step, over damp ground and tender grass. Their large antlers, covered in soft velvet, shimmer slightly with each stride, reflecting golden brown tones under the summer light. In the vast, untouched lands of northern Alaska, the caribou is a symbol of resilient life in the far north. They live in enormous herds, sometimes tens of thousands strong, constantly on the move, following the annual cycle. In spring and summer, caribou seek the cool tundra, where tender grass, moss, and wildflowers spread like a green carpet, to feed newborn calves and escape aggressive insect swarms in lower areas. In winter, when snow and ice cover everything, they migrate to scattered forests and sheltered valleys. With less snow, using their hard hooves to dig for lichens, a vital food source in extreme cold. Leaving the northern lands behind, we arrive at Denali National Park and Preserve, with Mount Denali rising. At the heart of Alaska, not only the highest mountain in the United States, but a majestic symbol of all North America, standing approximately 6,190 meters. Above sea level, Denali rises proudly among the clouds, crowned with glaciers and an eternal mantle of white snow. The mountain lies within Denali National Park and Preserve, a vast wilderness where nature has remained pristine for millions of years. The climate at Denali's summit is among the most severe and unpredictable on Earth. Fierce winds can sweep the slopes at terrifying speeds, while winter temperatures sometimes plummet to minus 60 degrees Celsius. Even in summer, when the plains at its base burst with wildflowers, Denali's peak remains cloaked in snow and ice. Sudden weather changes and treacherous terrain make climbing this mountain an extreme challenge for anyone daring enough to try. The name Denali comes from the Koyukon Athabascan language, meaning the High One or the Great One, a name wholly deserved by its majesty and grandeur. For Alaska's native peoples, Denali is more than a place. It is a symbol of strength, resilience, and a profound connection between humanity and wild nature. Even when viewed from hundreds of kilometers away, Denali's white silhouette stands eternal, reminding all of human smallness before the immensity and eternity of Alaska's earth and sky. At the foot of Mount Denali, where bare altitude gradually gives way to green foothills, Alaska's nature dons its vibrant summer mantle. The meadows at Denali's base form the subtle transition between the taiga forest below and the subalpine steppe above. Dwarf willow, birch, Labrador tea, and low shrubs form layers of ground cover, interspersed with patches of black spruce and dwarf cedar. Along streams and boggy areas, soft carpets of cotton grass and sedges, along with delicate ferns, spread everywhere. But the most striking and iconic is the lupine, a flower that completely dominates the living landscape. In June in Alaska, when the northern summer begins, the sun almost never sets. Warm golden light stretches day and night, spilling over every ridge, illuminating the vast grassy tundra. Lupines grow in huge clusters, raising tower-like spikes toward the sleepless sky. Each petal bears shades of violet and deep blue, sometimes touched with pink, swaying gently in the fresh sea breeze. Under the endless light, the flower's color grows deeper and more vivid, standing out against the green grass and pure white patches of cotton grass. But the most outstanding and emblematic of all is the lupine flower, a plant that completely dominates the living landscape. In June in Alaska, when the northern summer begins, the sun almost never sets, and its warm golden light stretches day and night, sweeping across every mountain range, illuminating the vast herbaceous tundra. Lupines grow in huge clusters, raising tower-like spikes toward a sky that never sleeps. Each petal glows in the shades of violet and deep forest blue, sometimes touched with pink, swaying gently in the cool breeze blowing in from the sea. Beneath the endless light, the color of the flowers grows deeper and more radiant, standing out against the green of the grass and the pure white patches of cotton grass. During Alaska's days without night, lupines do not merely beautify the land. They also feed countless bees, butterflies, and birds in search of nectar. Their fragrance, soft and sweet, blends into the fresh, moist air, and carried by the wind, spreads across the entire meadow. Locals and visitors alike often pause for long moments in the lupine fields, absorbing the blend of colors, light, and scents. An experience found only in Alaska. When summer reaches its most splendid moment, these same meadows also shelter Dall sheep among soft mountain mists and high cliffs where they seek food and rest. Their soft white coats stand out against the dark green backdrop, making every movement a bright, distinctive stroke in the majestic natural canvas. Curving horns marked with growth rings reveal their age while serving as weapons of defense and symbols of strength and status within the herd. Dall sheep move with skill and certainty across steep, rocky slopes, using the rugged terrain to evade predators like gray wolves or bears. Their sturdy bodies, strong legs, and flexible joints allow Dall sheep to navigate sheer cliffs with ease, gripping every ledge firmly without slipping. They live in herds that usually separate into male and female groups, coming together only during the mating season. In summer, Dall sheep descend to green slopes to graze. When winter arrives, they move to areas sheltered from the icy winds, where snow is deeper. Yet dry grass and lichens are easier to find. More than a symbol of resilient life, in Alaska's wild mountains, the Dall sheep is also an image of grace and pride in the majestic northern landscape. Along flower-covered rocky slopes, among dark crevices and stony inclines, small silhouettes appear. The hoary marmot, the largest rodent of Alaska's mountains. Marmots choose sites with wide views to dig complex tunnel systems, deep, sturdy burrows hidden beneath earth and stone, safe enough to withstand blizzards and predators. Their silvery gray fur catches the sunlight, blending perfectly with the rocks. Often we only notice them when a piercing whistle suddenly rings out. An alarm call for the entire area, an eagle is soaring overhead, or a red fox is lurking at the base of the slope. During the short summer, marmots spend most of their time outdoors, nibbling tender grass, fresh leaves, and bright wildflowers, slowly storing energy for the winter sleep that can last up to 8 months. Sometimes we see them stretched out on a warm rock, eyes half closed, savoring a rare moment of peace on the Grand Mountain. And yet, when the endless summer light spreads across the slopes, the marmot's distinctive whistle echoes far, mingling with the wind and the footsteps of the Dall sheep, creating a subtle harmony of life, where creatures great and small share and protect their common home in the wild nature of Alaska.